Hey, good evening, everyone. It's Friday, July the 25th. I'm Jordan French, the Regressive Progressive, here with Sean. Uh, let's just call him Sean. Do we need to give his last name? And this is the Social Justice Hour of the TYT Community Show here at the TYT Nation YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got an excellent show tonight. Sean, why don't you say hello to the audience?
What's up, guys? Since we don't have Jeff, we don't have any theme music, so Jordan has asked me to do it.
I apologize for that. I did not have the control room pulled up to mute him in time. That won't happen again tonight. But as Sean said, our illustrious host Jeff Waldorf has moving on up in the world and was unable to join us tonight. He asked me to fill in for him, and I am incredibly honored to do so. All that said, the live broadcast tonight won't have quite as much production value because of Jeff's absence, but hopefully we'll have just as much heart. So thank you so much for joining us and sticking with us despite the lack of polish tonight. You guys are the greatest audience in the world, and since it's just Sean and myself, and it's been a super busy week for me at work, the show itself probably won't last too long, so if you guys stick around, we'll get to have a really good Q&A session and really build on that. YouTube chat is not being great tonight, so feel free to tweet either myself at RegressProgress or Sean at IamSean90, as well as the TYT community at TYT community. We'll try to keep an eye on those on Twitter. If the YouTube chat isn't cooperating, you've got any questions you want to ask us, feel free to do so that way. I want to start off with what is a bit of a social justice story, but it was really more just developing news, but it's important, so we'll get into it. After 800 Palestinian deaths, most of them civilian, a good number of them women and children, several, I believe 35 Israeli soldiers and at least one Israeli civilian. Apparently we've reached the point now where for at least 12 hours we will be getting a ceasefire. It seems like Israel and Hamas will both agree to this. The time that it's going to take place is a little indeterminate, but it's a small victory. It's not great news. Obviously, 800 people dead on one side alone. A 12-hour respite is certainly not enough, but I'm sure that the people of Gaza will appreciate the following 12 hours. Moving on, getting into some of our actual social justice news. I'm going to regret this, but I'm going to let Sean not only drive, but let him drive on our opening segment. So Sean, if you'll take it away from here, while the audience members are still trickling in, we'll go ahead and get you out of the way with the fewest number of people watching the show.
That's really nice of you, Jordan, especially when you use those words to describe what you're doing. So unfortunately, we don't have the video to presentify with this story, but if you've been following the internet, I'm sure you've seen the video of the NYPD putting a man in an illegal chokehold, thus killing the 42-year-old man. That is the subject of our story today. Basically, this man was standing in front of a convenience store, or what looked like it was a convenience store, and he was selling a loose cigarette, an individual cigarette, which apparently is illegal in New York City and probably everywhere in the country because America. And that specific act is what led to this man's death. Basically, a bunch of officers jumped on him, one put him in a chokehold, and then they refused him medical treatment. Now, many people are talking about the illegal chokehold. Al Sharpton gave a speech about the chokehold today. There's a lot of outrage about police brutality in the news lately, but I want to talk about the crime that he committed. Basically, what this man did was engage in commerce with another New Yorker. And by the way, the price for a loose cigarette in New York City, in case you're wondering, is $1. So this man basically died because he was accused or suspected of a crime where he made $1 in illegal profits. That's what I want to talk about today. I throw it at Jordan, who's seen the video, and will describe it both eloquently and southernly.
You would throw to me right as I take a bite.
I know. I was watching you in the little box.
I appreciate that. In the interest of professionalism, Sean, can I ask you to elaborate a little bit more on some of your feelings while I finish the food that's in my mouth?
Okay, so the man who died, his name was Eric Gardner, and I feel like it's not only a case of police brutality. For those of you who don't know, the chokehold or the sleeper hold, if you're a wrestling fan, is actually a banned submission technique that the NYPD is not allowed to use because of a death a long time ago. And but that's like my problem with this story is obviously that the man died, like and he died because of an illegal chokehold. They shouldn't have done that on anybody. But it's the fact that the crime that he committed was a victimless crime, and it's like the most natural crime ever. Anybody who smoked a cigarette or seen somebody smoking or knows a smoker knows that if you're like at a bar or in front of a store and somebody says, "Hey, can I buy a cigarette offer you?" you usually say yes. Like, you're criminalizing natural, normal human behavior, and like that led to this man's death. Like, aside from this like police brutality, this man was cited 32 times for this action, and it's a non-crime. It's a victimless crime. Like, there's no justification for the stop in the beginning. And like, my point is that when you have all these nanny state laws, all these little laws that you pass every now and again, is that leads to more police contact. And when you have more police contact in our over-aggressive police forces, you're going to have more deaths. So this basically is a death that's caused by an almost prohibition in New York City, not to mention the general police brutality of the NYPD.
Yeah, this is definitely a case of police stupidity. Obviously, I am not as up in arms about the unregulated sale of cigarettes as you are, and I should note that if any one of us would be up in arms about this based on personal interest more so than ideology, it would be me because I used to own a tobacco store, and so I had to deal with paying all these like Arkansas has a 70% excise tax on tobacco. Like, I know about the rigmarole that goes into tobacco laws and selling commerce, but because I was in the tobacco business, I'm okay with it being regulated because it's really, really dangerous and it kills people. But yeah, I've seen the video, and you watch a lot of these videos, and again, you don't ever want to excuse police brutality, but you're like, clearly these people they were trying to pick a fight. The police were there, and we've seen videos where the police are there if the police are there for some other crisis, and then there's this other jackbag comes up and starts pestering them. That's really not what was going on here. Right? Like, this dude, as far as we know, broke up a fight beforehand, and was being admittedly not pleased with the cops who he felt were hassling him, but the guy was not being violent at all. Like, the police really don't have a leg to stand on in this one. It's just hard to build a case for them. And then whenever you watch the video, man, there's so many cops. Like, I don't see how many cops it takes to choke one man to death. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, that's so. What do you think the problem here is what for you? What's the single biggest issue? Is this is it police brutality, or is it more meta than that? Is it big government? Kind of what's really got your dander up here?
Well, it's a lot of things, and the reason in this particular video, because the guy was a big guy, and he was a father of 6, by the way. So they took a father away from his kids. Just throw that in there. But the guy, like, he's a big guy, and I usually give some deference if police like order a like physically large man to the ground, like, aggressively, right? Like, I get that, but the first thing that you see in the video, and maybe there was more confrontation beforehand, but the first technique that the officer uses to submit him is a guy coming up behind him and jumping on his back and putting him in the chokehold. Like, that's the first move, and that is the banned move. If you were in a situation where you have 6 cops there and you can't like restrain the guy, and one cop without thinking in the heat of the moment put him in a sleeper hold, that would be one thing. But it was the first thing they did. And like, there's so many issues in this, and it's not that I'm in favor of unregulated tobacco sale, but like, it's one person selling one cigarette, or maybe sold 2 cigarettes. And I actually have a personal stake in this more than you, because I currently do sell loose cigarettes to people who ask if I have on me. So like, but it's one cigarette. It's such a non-crime and a non-issue, and it's the non-crime. It's the overreaction to the non-crime. I mean, this is basically a citation. It's a ticket. And then the guy's on the floor after being in a chokehold, and it's all these people leaving him there. Like, you have paramedics walking by with the oxygen that this guy needs. And if you're in a situation where a guy is claiming he can't breathe or he's having trouble breathing, like, protocol says you're supposed to give him oxygen. You have the people there with the oxygen, and they're like, no, you can't have any. So it's basically a shit ton of issues, but I think it starts with the non-crime that this guy was being cited for. Like, there shouldn't have been that much police contact. I see police officers buying loose cigarettes from people. I see them selling loose cigarettes from people. Like, it's the most normal thing for a smoker to do.
Hey, Sean, I apologize so much. If you're kind of at a stopping place now, to everybody watching, I apologize for the inconvenience. Again, thank you so much for bearing with us. But we know how awesome our audience is, and so we want to give you guys the best opportunity to participate in the show. And so what we are going to do is start a new stream with the live chat. We've got the issue worked out now. So if you will bear with us for just a few minutes, go grab yourself a cup of water or something, and then refresh your the YouTube page on the TYT Nation main page. Then we'll have a new stream up that should have a live chat. Again, thank you so much for bearing with us. This is Jordan French with TYT Nation. I'm the Regressive Progressive, and we will pick up where we left off in just a couple minutes. Thank you so much.
All right, so you're gonna set it up?
Jeff's doing it.
Okay. We appreciate it.